Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 8 of Toni and Dr. Bruce. And this show is the first in a series where we will focus on soulmates. Relationships play a major role in our lives, and soulmates are our helpers. We have some adorable soulmate stories to share, and I think you're going to really enjoy them. So, Dr. Bruce, you wrote about soulmates in your book, Your Journey Was Never Meant to End. So your perspective is going to be interesting. And I wrote about my personal soulmate stories in my book, Awake, The Purpose of Life and Why You're Here, as well as lots of client cases where they encounter soulmate energy within a session. And it's absolutely fascinating. What do you have to say, Dr. Bruce?
You know, it seems to me like soulmate is a much bandied about word. There are even several dating websites, believe it or not, that are devoted to soulmates. In the current vernacular, soulmate usually refers to a romantic partner with the implication of an exclusive lifelong bond. The term is a very versatile one, and it's defined differently by different individuals as it is related to the concept of love. It commonly holds the connotation of being the strongest bond with another person that one can achieve. According to a 2011 poll, believe it or not, 73% of people believe that they are destined to find their one true soulmate.
Yeah, they're big stats, aren't they? And I guess they're proof of what we see in this work all the time, that love is key in everybody's heart, whether they're into this or not. They still seem to have this belief that there is a soulmate for them.
And whether they admit it or not. So the original roots of the term are related to the concept of reincarnation. And so in this context, soulmates are seen as very bonded souls who choose to unite as a couple again and again in the romantic sense. Now, they've shared many lives, many experiences, and they both wish to continue the relationship as different people in a different lifetime. This is intended to explain the deja vu phenomenon. That is to say, when you meet a person for the first time and yet you feel as if you have known them forever. Now, for some, there's a mystical energy right from the beginning, a bond which transcends one's mundane existence. These are the people who you connect with on a very strong energy channel. The attachment can be profound, it can be deeply hurtful if it's broken. And this sense of immediate connection arises from unconscious or soul memories of previous loving experiences. Back to you, Toni.
I've had those experiences. We're telling them in due course.
We all.
Yeah. So I guess from a logical and some might say mathematical standpoint, it would appear inevitable that an individual soul having multiple lives would eventually meet someone known in another life. Over the course of numerous past lives and the inevitable multitude of relationships with others, it's only a matter of time until a soul finds itself with someone whom it has known before. And if we include karma in the equation, the probability of meeting that someone again is even greater.
According to the theory of reincarnation and also karma, it depends on the extent of your involvement with the other person in a previous life. If the intensity of your relationship was quite significant, then it's likely that you will have to deal with emotions from this prior life in the current one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the indirect evidence surrounding reincarnation does suggest very strongly that individual souls tend to return to Earth in subsequent incarnations for the specific purpose of dealing with other souls, but normally in different relationships. Toni?
Yeah, true. So when you say different relationships, you mean like could be father and daughter in one life and then husband and wife in another, right?
Mother, son, father, daughter, aunt, uncle, nephew. And God forbid, mother-in-law.
I always use mother-in-law in my workshops. I don't even necessarily have those issues, but it's always a good one to pull on. So in his New York Times bestseller, The Bridge Across Forever, author Richard Buck describes this romantic metaphysical ideal. Here we go, inverted commas, I quote, "A soulmate is someone who has locks that fit our keys and keys to fit our locks. And when we feel safe enough to open the locks, our truest selves step out and we can be completely and honestly who we are. We can be loved for who we are and not for whom we're pretending to be. Each unveils the best part of the other, and no matter what else goes wrong with us, with that one person, we're safe in our own paradise. Our soulmate is someone who shares our deepest longings, our sense of direction, and when we're two balloons and together our direction is up, chances are we've found the right person. Our soulmate is the one who makes life come to life." So it's said. A soulmate then is someone with whom we have shared many past life experiences, and they are invariably members of our soul group. Anyone already familiar with the concept of a soulmate is probably a romantic. I mean, how sweet is the idea of a lover from a past life currently searching the world for you in order to be reunited in unremitting bliss? It's the stuff of romance novels and other works designed to appeal to anyone who's currently without that one true love. What do you say about this?
Very well done, Toni. I couldn't have said it better myself. My take on this is that others take a more complex view of this matter, and they divide soulmates into three categories: companion, karmic, and twin flame. Now, these three kinds of soulmates allow for a rather impressive range of possibilities when two people are meeting again in this life. A warning here, though. Not all of these are wonderfully idyllic. So let's take a look at the first of these, which is companion soulmates. Companion soulmate is a person you may encounter either as your closest friend or a person you kind of just click with. You've already met them in a past life and you're continuing the friendship. You and they may even be members of the same soul group, or a soul tribe, as it sometimes is referred to. This relationship often involves a service, mission, plan, task that one is destined to perform in the karmic sense with the other person. There may or may not be a romantic relationship involved, but there usually is a complementary calling in life, an ideal partnership with similar likes and dislikes. And of course, this can also go into the other types of soulmates. But here in the companion, we have people who work well together. They're project-oriented. They're well-mated. They're extremely compatible. The last aspect derives from soulmates being at a very nearly the same, but not necessarily exact level in the development of their souls, and not necessarily in their current respective chronological ages. Toni?
The whole time you're talking there, it makes me think of my two very close best friends that we met in, one at 13 for me and one at 17, and we never once, no disagreements, just this amazing bonds. And I guess people have those in one form or another with various people. But the joining of companion soulmates doesn't necessarily signify a permanent relationship. And in many cases, once the service, mission, plan, or task is completed, there might be no further need for the relationship and the togetherness vanishes. And I guess if the soulmate is romantic, companion soulmates are not necessarily marriage or cohabitation partners. While it's true that the soulmate condition might have been established by shared physical experiences over a long time, the relationship is often more than just physical attraction. So there exists the capacity to help each other on a mental level, an emotional and a spiritual level as well. So all of that combined with the physical, the deep understanding that exists between these two souls is a bonus that helps both partners grow and develop. So they're helping each other to reach their full potential more easily than first-time partners. And I guess companion soulmates, as well as the others, might come together to work out issues or play reverse roles other than that which they experienced in another time or place. Companion soulmates can be our parents or children or friends or relatives or co-workers and even animals. But we will cover that in another show. But that can be the topic of, some fun talk about animals. The closeness or soul bond isn't restricted to romantic relationships, is it, Dr. Bruce?
No, it is not, Toni. Companion soulmates may appear to be less essential to the evolution of the soul than the other two types that we'll be discussing in the forthcoming shows. But it is certainly conceivable that there may be joint missions, plans, or tasks that can be more beneficial to everyone concerned if it's carried out by two people in very close cooperation. Mm-hmm. While this type of relationship might not be the norm, it at least makes sense to exist in principle. And if we plan our lives in advance, as we discussed in a previous show on pre-birth planning, clearly it's logical that two souls might make joint plans. I guess one could look upon this as a cosmic corporate merger.
You come up with some good references. Love it. Okay, so there's some food for thought for everyone listening. And now let's run through a couple of our soulmate stories. So I'm going to start with one of mine. So I've got my little notes here. My story's from Tara, and she is sharing her story. So here we go. She says, I met my husband 40 years ago when I was dating someone else. So I just want to stick my two bobs worth in here. So I feel like it's a good chance to say that it is common to meet your one when still seeing someone else. And fated meetings take place because they are pre-planned. So no matter what we've been taught about morals, or no matter what other people say about who we ought to be with and who we shouldn't be with, it's all overridden. And part of the fallout of a relationship starting while you're seeing someone else actually forms circumstances for learning for everyone involved, and be it about betrayal or guilt, or to experience a broken heart, or to deal with the situation with grace or even with relief. So back to Tara's story.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to continue her story here because it's really cute. So she goes on to say, we were friends for 8 months before I jokingly sent him a Valentine's card acting like I was madly in love with him. I ended the whole thing with just kidding. And a few days later, he came home from college and walked into the dress shop where I worked carrying one of those huge Hershey's Kisses, assuming that's a big chocolate. And as he walked in, it's like my guides removed a veil from my eyes and I saw him in a completely new way. Why had I never noticed how gorgeous he was and how sweet he was and what a loyal friend he'd been? Suddenly, like a wave going through me, I was filled with love, longing, and a huge amount of lust for this guy. It was like electrical current running between us that had just been activated. And she still feels like this way today. Cute, hey? So sweet. And I guess this story might bring hope for someone, that feelings might change, or someone else's feelings might change towards you. But the truth is, it could be that he or she is just not into you. And I mean, that's just the challenges of lives and working through our relationships. It's hard.
Isn't that the topic of a movie? The name of a movie? He's just not into you, or she's just not.
It is.
I remember that. Yeah. Now, mine is from Dimple. And Dimple was one of my students at a Past Life Regression training in San Diego, California. And she writes, I've learned that from readings that my soulmate and twin flames are different. We can have several soulmates, but only one twin flame. Well, to interject personally, maybe and maybe not. There are a lot of variables and, lots open to interpretation, and we'll be delving into this a little deeper in succeeding shows. But now, back to Dimple's story. And although we have several soulmates, she writes, we rarely meet more than one in a life. Maybe, maybe not. We'll talk about that too. And they can come as anyone. Need not be a romantic connection. She says, I've met one in this lifetime. In my case, I know it is one, as years before he arrived, psychics would tell me again and again that in such and such a year and month, he would arrive. Well, he arrived in that year, but 1 month before. And Brucey Kaloski, it was in your PLR class. I'm glad I saw this thread and can come a full circle to share this with you. As it was a month before that he arrived, I wasn't expecting to see him. I had arrived late to class and had gone and sat right in front. When the class got over, I got up, turned, and our eyes met. He was sitting right behind me. And instantly, my heart felt immense joy and said, it's you. It was as simple as that. I knew it was him. A big smile lit up my heart. He was speaking to someone else, but when he saw me, he went into a big, joyful smile too. Both our eyes twinkled, and I'm not being poetic. I saw it, and all this happened in a second as I didn't stop to look, just got up and left. Now that night, I knew, and it was a deep, peaceful knowing that next day he will keep a seat for me, although we had exchanged nothing more than a smile. And sure he did. We didn't speak still. I felt so much peace in his presence that words were a burden. At lunch, we just knew we would be eating together. There was no, hi, I'm so-and-so. We just said, so, where do you want to go for lunch? And when we were together at lunch, it felt more comfortable and familiar than being with my own family. It didn't turn out to be a romantic connection, although we tried as we felt so at peace together. But there were other karmic completions he and I both had to go through with others. But he walks with me. I turn to him for support when I need to be understood. To interject, everybody can reach for the tissues now. Whether a relationship will be romantic or not, and at what point it might become romantic, is decided in those the pre-planning period between lives. It's kind of like what we do is we sit there with that other person and says, well, this time around, there's going to be no romance, no sex, just plenty of cold showers. And then they get on with it. And then she goes on to write, I don't know if the ones who make you feel bad are your soulmates, but mine doesn't.
Well, they are. It's all of them, isn't it?
Exactly. But then to interject, actually, a soulmate can make you feel bad, right, Toni?
Yeah.
And they do this for a reason that's been agreed upon in the previous lives planning stage. Mm-hmm. And we saw that in the show that we did on that particular topic. I believe it did come up for discussion back then. Okay, yeah. Back to the story. It's been over 10 years, and I feel total love, peace, joy, lightness with him. I will admit that I've told people that soulmates are those that make you feel loved unconditionally, because mine does. There are many others who have broken my heart or helped me in my journey, but they're not my soulmates. Perhaps there is a different title for them. There is. Teachers, soul contracts, I don't know. But I do know, this is Dimple's words, from really going through it, and he was seen by all too, that my soulmate is awesome. Psychics and other readers later on also continue to tell me he is a soulmate, and when we would go anywhere together, and that I won't be meeting any other. Rarely one comes in life, and I got one. And they had shared that he and I have been light beings when not incarnated and flown together. In one incarnated life, he was my grandfather. In another incarnated life, someone else. So they can come in any role, but they make you feel soothed and loved. And mine is a psychologist and hypnotherapist too. I feel very understood. And by the way, there are similarities between us at a deep level when we are at, who we are at a deep level, rather. That's a beautiful story.
It's a nice story, and I guess it's her understanding of things and how they've played out, yeah, which is perfectly fine. But I wonder about, I'm very into intuitive development, so I'm fully aware of the psychic senses or our sixth sense that we use in that way. And certainly some people can see these past lives, and clearly she's been told by psychics that of the past lives that she's had. But I noted with regression and the therapeutic value of it, it really works and makes sense and gives understanding to the client when they see it for themselves rather than being told by a reader or a psychic.
That's true.
That's just one thing.
I agree, because they're experiencing it for themselves. They're not going to have that deep emotional connection as they within a regression session that leads to deeper understanding. Good point.
And I think with the psychic awareness and reading, it still can always be somewhat marred by that individual, the psychic's values and beliefs that they have in human life. And it can still come in and mess the story a little bit or adapt it. It can. So that's why it's better if we leave it to, or within regression, and that's the power of it, it's left to that person's soul to express the information to them.
Well, the psychic can lend their own interpretations to it.
Yeah.
And therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
They can be, they say in the law profession, leading the witness.
Yes, they can be. They can be. But I mean, I suppose the thing is, if it makes the person feel good in the moment, or like this girl clearly does, who's given us this story, then awesome. It's what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go. In the next show, we're delving deeper into the different types of soulmates. So next week, we'll talk about karmic soulmate. You've been watching Toni and Bruce, Dr. Bruce even, where we discuss all matters related to reincarnation and past life regression. Tell your friends or start a watch party.
Good idea.
Yeah.
We've been here before, and we will be again. As a matter of fact, we'll be here next week. We hope you will too. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.